That shit on the headlight.
Yeah, they're a tough team. They're a divisional opponent. You always want to do the best that you can to win as many divisional games as you can. But this is week 4, a lot of football to play, and we'll see them again.
TV, I'm your host, Steve. I'm your host, Sammy AKA Sports on X. And joining me as always, my co-host, Steve Hallett. Steve, welcome to the show.
Sammy, how you doing? It's great to be here with you. I really wish it was under better, different circumstances. I think we had a very, very nice honeymoon phase to start our season off, and we've had a slap of reality up in Orchard Park this past Sunday, and we're going to have to cover all of it. I'd like to say that we're going to find a lot of good stuff to talk about, but I'll find a little bit. I'll find some diamonds in the rough of what was up there in Buffalo this past Sunday. But I'm ready to kind of peel back the layers and expose some of the stuff that we saw, and then put it behind us and move on to the Giants.
Yeah, as Tua said, we'll see them again, but as of now, it's just kind of rough. It was not what we were expecting. We knew it was going to be a tough game, but there's growing pains. I want to believe it's growing pains, so we'll see what happens. But it's rough.
It was definitely rough. I guess I kind of have a tough time thinking that they're growing pains. Seeing that clip of Tua after the game. He's Tua. You got to take the good with who he is, the humility. He's just the person that he is. He never wants the spotlight solely on him. He has a 466-yard game this year. He throws 6 touchdowns last year against the Ravens. He's the first guy to say, look at everybody else around me. I got this done because of them. in a defeat like this, and again, we'll talk about the different stuff. I don't want to, get all the sound bites out of the way right now, but it'd be really nice to see him show some anger. He put a little bit of salty stuff, and we'll probably see that in one of the clips that we're going to be showing here as a part of the episode. But it would have been nice to see him a little bit more angry from the way that we got hit there. But we'll see.
I agree. Well, we're going to talk about that, but well, on this episode, the Dolphins on the crossroads. We're going to talk about what's next for the Dolphins after that defeat at Buffalo. Well, we're going to talk about if the Dolphins are overrated. And we're also going to go look forward to the Giants game, the next opponent, after that rough loss they had last Monday. They'll travel to Hard Rock Stadium to face the Dolphins. But first, we're going to start with a debacle. The Bloody Sunday that was last game against the Bills at Buffalo.
Yeah, just as
high decibel level, trying to quiet him too. And down the field, got Smythe for a second straight play. 2nd and 8. Tua thought about it, looks back the other way, and it almost got intercepted. And on the rebound, it was a catch by Waddle. Picks up 11.
This is what we call game-changing plays, one way or the other.
Back to Achane. Achane's got another touchdown. Finds the end.
So excited.
Next play to Knox. Dawson Knox shoves aside the defender and picks up the first down. Here's the handoff for the first down and a whole lot more. It's Murray racing down to the 12-yard line. First and goal. Cook as Allen helps push him from behind across the goal line. By the two quarterbacks as Tua starts the second quarter with another complete. What a catch. Look at this play, and they end up running it. It's Achane taking it home for another touchdown.
No way.
Oh, the defense. We've seen Cook, we've seen Murray. They both have contributed. Now going deep down the field, and that's going to generate a flag. Kohu's over there celebrating the breakup.
And he's not playing the ball. That's why you get called here. You got to play the ball.
First, they've got Jalen Ramsey out. Rolling, throwing on the run. Caught at the goal line. It's Diggs with a touchdown. Tua setting up a screen. Cut back middle. Mostert. Ball's on the ground. Ball pops out, and a Dolphin is right there in the area to recover it.
Something fun to watch.
2nd and 6. Gosh, looking down the sideline. It's Diggs with another flag out. He is able to get away from those two tacklers, and no one's going to touch him the rest of the way. Touchdown, Buffalo. Looking outside, going end zone, wide open. Berrios brings in a conversion. Puts it up. Knocked away by Dane Jackson. Like this. 2nd and 6. Not there. Allen still trying to find something.
With the help back here.
2nd and 10. Down the field and intercepted. He overthrew him. It's Micah Hyde. Hyde spinning out of one tackle. And they are. No, he won't even get a chance. It's Ed Oliver again.
Alert it. Get people crossing.
Going to be a key. It's going to be all the way to the end zone for Josh Allen. Spencer Brown, the right side. The only thing I know is I know nothing.
I said, wow, that's me.
We all can relate to that. You just don't know in this league. They will tangle again on the week's regular season's final week.
Well, the Dolphins started well. They were keeping up, but suddenly the wheels fell off of the brain, and for some fans, even fell off the bandwagon after the first quarter. There was a lot of bumpy waters on the X Twitter waters. A lot of fans were jumping on the bandwagon. But Steve, I want to start with you. What your thoughts about that? Well, it's rough to watch, but still. But How about your overall
It's
thoughts about the
it's
game?
rough to watch, and of the replays that I've watched from it, it doesn't get any easier. It's kind of like the absolute opposite against the Broncos. I couldn't get
Mhm.
enough of those highlights and the nonstop touchdowns and
It's a
scoring.
bizarro game, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. And as much as I moved, really, I did move on very quickly after that Broncos game because I had a feeling of what we were going to face going up into Buffalo.
Mhm.
Into a very hostile environment. We talked about it a lot last episode, and it really turned out to be what I thought it was going to be. There's a lot of negative stuff to talk about, and I'm sorry to our panelists that are going to be joining us, Eddie and Matt. I'll be dumping it on them when we have that segment coming up. There were some highlights. Devon Achan, is he RB1 now? Mostert puts the ball on the ground too much more. I really would like to think McDaniel's a faithful person. Heck, it's why we've got Jeff Wilson Jr. and Raheem Mostert in the first place on this team. They're talents, but they're also known variables that McDaniel brought here when he came to Miami.
Yeah.
So the performances that Devon Achan has put out there, I really think that he's earning the trust, earning the extra carries. He continues this forward for a couple more weeks here through the Giants and the Panthers games. We might see him listed top of the depth chart and getting those starting reps. And then on the other side of the ball, really not a lot to shine there. But I really am happy to see Van Ginkel, AVG, showing up for another consistent week. All of us Dolphins fans, we know who he is. For anybody that isn't a part of the Dolphins fan nation, they are starting to realize what all of us have seen, that he's a diamond in the rough. Fangio loved him, was happy that he was sticking around for the team this year. So there are some bright points. There's just unfortunately way too many rough points.
I agree. Uh, it was definitely rough. All parts of the game, especially when Amsterdam were down. You can see you probably could survive with Eichenberg and the communication on the line, but as soon as Amsterdam fell, you could see that the thing was not the same. They were definitely not the same. And the Bills, we probably believe our own hype, and we're gonna talk about that more later. But the Bills had a chip on their shoulder. They wanted to prove. They played mad. They remember what Mustard did to them last season. They remember the close games, the game in Miami. They wanted to establish their dominance. They played angry, and well, the Dolphins sometimes can be too nice or too much of a finesse team. We'll have to see if the Dolphins can find after this loss that edge that they need to sustain a game against rougher teams like the Eagles, like the Cowboys, and like the Bills.
Absolutely. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind they had a chip on their shoulder and a sign of the times that we're in. Miami's leaving in the airport to go to Buffalo, and they're wearing these shirts with the emoji with this little thing on their faces and everything.
I still
Look
didn't
at
get that. I
I
didn't
don't
get that.
what I don't get it. I don't care. You know what? You know who did get it? Josh Allen got it
Yeah,
because when he
see.
ran that ball in and he does that little stupid pose and everything, and
Mm-hmm.
they see it. They see these things. They don't need any more motivation,
Yeah.
and it's football is a different sport. At least here in North America, we don't play rugby as often, everything here. But what other sport do you have where every time they flip possessions, you're facing the same group of people, and you've got to prove
Mm-hmm.
that you can do something to outlast them or to beat them? And
Mm-hmm.
we went head to head to head, and just have that gut feeling that it's going to be a shootout, and the first team to blink is going to be the one to lose, and then we blink, we fumble, we punt, they score, we don't, and it's a slippery slope, and we just fell down it.
Yeah, after that basically was the the snowball rolling down the hill. There was no way to stop it. The Dolphins were trying to catch up. The 2 point conversion, I still don't get why they will go to 2 point conversion. If you get the touchdown, and I don't think it was a kicker thing. Personally, I don't. But if you get the touchdown, why stop the momentum? You got a touchdown. You're running behind, but if you miss the 2 point conversion, then the momentum stops it. And that
Correct.
crowd was wild. The crowd was a factor. I'm old enough to remember Buffalo used to be, is, and still to me is one of the best home field advantage from the fans' perspective in the whole NFL. Green
Yeah.
Bay, Seattle, the Buffalo, those fans were rabid. They were after the Dolphins. They really wanted to win. And like we said, the emoji thing, I still get it. Why the media gave them enough motivation to say that the Dolphins were going for their crown. That the
100%.
Dolphins were ready. We believe the hype. At least we believe the hype enough to believe it was a competitive game. We had no reason to believe we wouldn't be. There were factors, of course, like I said in a tweet. Uh, they had the best team on the best team, the best personnel on the field that game. If everybody's healthy, it's probably a different game. But at game time, when the Chiefs was on the table, they had the better team. They executed and they found to win the game. How to win.
100%. No
So
other way to put it.
I agree. So we're going to be joined by our esteemed panelists, Matt Astor and Eddie Chaput. Good evening, guys. Well,
How's it going, guys?
the highlights.
Good. How are you?
It was a rough
I'm
game.
here.
And we had vastly different expectations of what happened. I want to start with. I know Eddie said he had a lot to get off out of his chest the last couple of days, but I'm going to start with Matt. What your thoughts about the game, Matt?
That was a classic shootout in the making. I've sat there watching this thing thinking, oh my goodness, these two teams are them, right? These two teams are the teams in the NFL. And I had this feeling that the first one, I think Steve just said, the first one that blinks, and the blinking was uh, a fumble, uh, the near interception that Waddle was able to bring in. That those are the cracks, right? Those happened not because the Dolphins weren't playing well. They happened because the Bills were playing better, and they kept that pressure up. We're not talking about the Jets here. We're not talking about the Broncos here. The Bills are a legitimate. They have been for years, and they took whatever offense they needed to. The whole world talked about the Dolphins for a week. 70 points. Is this the best team? I know people who have said the Dolphins were going to go undefeated this year, right? So I am certain that the Bills had plenty of bulletin board material. Uh, Sometimes I don't give that too much credence, but on Sunday, the Bills were the better team. They took advantage of those circumstances. I think that McDaniel may have gotten away from some things that were working, and he may have done it because he felt like he didn't have a choice. That's an assumption on my part.
Mhm.
The Bills were definitely not just on the scoreboard, but they were definitely the best team on the field on Sunday.
Absolutely. How about you, Eddie? What are your thoughts about the game?
Well, I'm tired of our team playing a physical team and always getting pushed around. It happens every year. I know I love the speed, don't get me wrong, but it would be nice to convert a 3rd and 1. Be nice not to be in shotgun on 3rd and 1. But for me, it all starts with the defense putting way too much pressure on the offense. Not to be able to make a single stop. I mean, not even put them in 3rd and long. Um, I'm not sure what it is. I know I'm not happy with the play of the linebackers or the 3 first-round picks on the defensive line. And I'm not sure if Fangio's not being more complex because the players he has, or this is his defense. I just don't know. I just know that they kicked our butts and we couldn't do anything with them. They made a mistake by not getting a backup center. Eichenberg is not a starting offensive lineman. I mean, I'm just a fan. I mean, I've paid and put enough money. I can have an opinion about players, but he does not belong. I don't even think he belongs on our roster, to tell you the truth. I'm sure that somebody could do the job he's doing. I believe he was a worst ranked center this week. And it was frustrating. You have to move to next week, but they have some holes to fill, and I know some injuries will come. Some of the injured players will come back, but I don't know if that'll fix everything they need because some other people will get injured. And the reason Armstead got hurt was because Eichenberg got pushed so far back,
Hmm.
he got bent backwards over Eichenberg, who was on the ground. So a little disappointed with them getting rid of Feeney and not keeping a veteran backup center. Other than that, it was great.
Oh, that was great. And episode two, Steve and I played a game that was called Sink or Swim, and we talked at length about Eichenberg. I was under the opinion by that time that he would not survive the first cuts. He rebounded. He's played well in spurts, very small spurts, but he probably give you a couple of snaps. But the communication. I don't know who's making the calls of defensive linemen on the line. If it was probably was Connor Williams. If is out, who's making the calls? If it's Armstead, is it Eichenberg, is it Robert Hunt? But you can see the communication were lacking. They were coming after it. They were not reacting as fast. They didn't look ready. So it was rough. Steve, any last thoughts about the whole this
Last
game? Yes.
thoughts?
Yeah.
I haven't even gotten
Also, you want?
started. I haven't even
Please
gotten
go ahead.
started. I already gave you the good, the
Okay, please
bad.
give me the
I've
bad.
I've got to peel it back. I've got to just start digging in deep here to the things. Defense. Where was the defense?
Hmm.
Everybody here has already talked about it, so it's nothing new. it's it's not just a player fit type thing. I heard some people talking about, is it Fangio and he doesn't have his players? Eddie, you just said this. Problem is we don't have the time to sit back, let this year cycle out, throw out the people that don't fit his scheme,
Hmm.
get some capital so we can go out there and try to find these people to fit his scheme. We don't have I don't believe we have a big window here.
No.
Our window with Tua on his little contract is starting. It's already closing. What, we got
Hmm.
2 years left of him at this type of
Probably
contract.
this one next.
Yeah, and then we've got the 5th year option next year that we've already
Hmm.
taken out on him.
20
But
something million.
but we don't have the luxury because we have Chubb, we have Hill, we have Ramsey, we have all these other resources being spent up in places that the window just isn't there for us to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge proponent of Pro Football Focus, but they pump out these numbers, and I'm just looking at, like, on the defense, David Long, Jerome Baker, Sealer, and Wilkins. We love Sealer and Wilkins.
Hmm.
I mean, almost all of them. I think their average drop from where they were last year to this year, the average is like 11 points lower this year than where they were last year.
Also, probably whole grade.
So and that's going up against some decent teams, but the Patriots weren't an offensive juggernaut.
No.
We should have been able to dominate them, and we pushed the Broncos around a little bit. They really
Hmm.
only put up 13 offensive points. So, but those types of things are just, it's kind of inexcusable. Brandon Jones, extremely happy to see him, but damn, we missed Deshaun Elliott this week.
Hmm.
Not sure if he's going to be able to come back. Seriously, I'm really excited to see Brandon Jones making a comeback a year removed from that knee surgery. I know he's excited, but he can't play deep in the field, missed a bunch of tackles, was out of position way too much. Josh Allen, the guy was staring his wide receivers down, and it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
He still threw it to where he wanted to throw the ball, and
Hmm.
he got completions. Or Cater Kohu, who really, for the first time that I can remember, he got beat around like a rag doll that entire game. Xavier Howard said after the game, I don't know why you're paying me all this money and I'm here as the lead cornerback on this team when Ramsey's not on the field and
Hmm.
he's not shadowing him. I don't. Somebody here can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm going to give. I like to give little shout outs to random people on here. My nephew Reese is sitting in our patio watching the game, and he's sitting there just frustrated. Why isn't Xavier Howard on Diggs? Why isn't he on Diggs? Correct me if I'm wrong here, but as long as I can remember, Xavier Howard has always played that side of the field.
Hmm.
Whoever's been the defensive coordinators in all those years, he sticks to that side of the field, and we've never really swapped around with him chasing the top wide receivers. But that's a very valid question. And Howard called it out in his post game where he was like, I don't know. I'm your top guy. I want to prove it by being out there covering their top guy. And who knows? maybe if he flexed around in the field and was shadowing Diggs, we don't know if he would have put up 3 touchdowns and just absolutely murdered us on that. One of the things that I caught after the game was Jalen Waddle. And I don't know if anybody caught his comments, and he said that they just wanted it more. And there's people out here that are upset about that, but they're professionals, you know it,
Mhm.
and that those statements shouldn't be coming out of one of your top players' mouths. Shouldn't be really be coming out of anybody's mouths. But I believe it to be true. I
Yeah.
believe that the our offensive game plan, we came in there like we were expecting a home field advantage and we weren't going to see things. Eddie, you were just saying who's calling the offensive line signals? If they were calling offensive line signals and it was Williams there, would they have even heard it? That stadium was rocking.
It was funny.
And the more that we slipped and fell down that slope or picked up in the snowball and got bigger and bigger, it just got worse and worse. And every time, it's the one of the most amazing things about growing up in that area is you see how passionate the fans are.
Yeah.
And if the players didn't want it more, and it pains me to say this, but the difference between a home game at Hard Rock and a home game at whatever field it is in Orchard Park, New York, their home field advantage, those fans give you a feeling that they want it more. Year in, year out, game in, game out, they want it more and they bring it to let people know that. I long for the days that may come in the hopefully the near future where we sell out games. Fans aren't selling their tickets to the highest bidder from the opponent's team
Mhm.
fan base, and we have a true home field advantage where people say, damn, it's December. It's not 95 degrees and burning us up out there on the field, but we couldn't do anything because we couldn't hear anything in that revamped field with the sound
Mhm.
reflecting top, ceiling that Tom Garfinkel put on that place. You know, it's it's just really frustrating to see that, not to feel like your team can get out there and execute. But I feel like we really lost before the game started, and it was only a matter of time before we slipped up and weren't able to execute on those things on offense. And we got punched in the mouth several times, and eventually they just took advantage of it.
Yeah, most definitely. We're going to talk a lot about the whole team more on the next segment on Crossroads. But you can see the defense going to what I said before and what Waddle said. The defense was overset, overplaying. They were playing panic. They were going for the ball instead of making tackles. They were out of position. Baker is. Uh, I'm speechless on top of his play. He's I'm not an XNO's guy. That I will leave that to the Josh House and the guys, the reasons, and the people who know more about that stuff than me. Credit to that, but I'm I'm burst enough to see that you can see the linebackers were not in position. They were running the ball at will. The tacklers were over tackling and not going for the ball. There was a play where basically Jones even tackled Kohu and that went for a touchdown for Dick. So it was just ridiculous. Uh, Matt, any last thought about the Blues game before we go to the next segment? What's next for the Dolphins going forward?
I went outside just a minute ago and I looked up and the sky is not falling. It's not. We're 3-1, just behind the Bills, who, spoiler alert, may be number one in the power rankings at the end of the show tonight. 3-1, and I want to bring up one thing that's really important for Dolphins Nation, and that is all off season, all we heard was if they stay healthy. And who is they that they're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about Tua, right?
Mm-hmm.
He got sacked 4 times by one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. Okay. And he got up. He's
Mm-hmm.
healthy. All right. He lives to fight another day. Giants, you're up. So I I am of the belief, and the glass is always half full with me. Most of the time it's overflowing. I am of the belief that the Dolphins went to Buffalo and they were not going to win. They were not going to win on Sunday. The Bills, Steve said it a moment ago, they were locked in. That crowd, how the all of us, the 4 of us, could go up there and catch a pass or run off 6 or 7 yards if we had that crowd behind
Mm-hmm.
us. we're in good shape, guys. Our quarterback, he survived a butt kicking. I trust that they'll make the adjustments that they need to make. There are some worrisome things. Eddie has mentioned them. Um, I've been not a fan of Liam, but not against him so much. It's been made very clear that that was his first game ever playing center. Was it this game or the game before? The game before that it was the first time he ever played center. You know, did they put themselves in a hole by getting rid of the other guy? Perhaps uh, Feeney. But I think that we're in good shape going in against the Giants. And I would like to put this behind me. It's like eating a bad sandwich. I'm not going to eat that sandwich again. And we'll see them in January.
Oh, well, any last thought, Eddie?
Not too much. You guys touched on pretty much everything. Steve brings up a good point. I believe we've said it before about home field. That was a great crowd. It's nice to have one. Sometimes you go to Hard Rock and it's 40% of the other team's fans. Sometimes they're louder than the Miami fans. I know sometimes the experience at the Miami games, people complain when you stand up and cheer and they make you sit down. That's a problem. And you got to let your fans get loud. And I don't know. I think they're doing something about it. People have complained to Tom Garfinkel about it, so I think it's getting better. But I'd love to have a fan base like that. I mean, I know there's nothing else to do in Buffalo, but go watch a football game. And there's a million things to do in Miami. But they have passionate fans, so it's really nice.
Yeah, I had the chance to go to last year's game, Miami versus Buffalo. The Bills Mafia is for real. They really love their team. They're tough fans. Yeah, well, but at the end of the day, I did it. The Dolphins they put a tweet after the game saying that the elevator was broken. The Dolphins, the Dolphins made a perfect chance just to put the two Super Bowl trophies on the elevator, but maybe put it next time. So next, we're going to talk about the Dolphins at the crossroads. What's next for the Dolphins?
Letting everyone know it's no longer the Dolphins' division to lose. Josh Allen throws 4 TDs as the Bills rout the Fins 48-20, handing Miami its first loss. Tua, how you feeling after that defeat?
It's very good because I would say it's also very humbling for a lot of people to be able to have the highest high, and then you lose in a manner like this, and very humbling, and it's for some it's much needed.
This loss actually good for the Fins.
So, in listening to Tua Tagovailoa, it seems like coach talk, right? Coach speak, that he's saying that this loss was good for the Miami Dolphins. And then as he gets to the end, he says, for some. That makes me think that he's talking about certain people on the team specifically, certain groups on the team specifically. When you get on this high horse, things begin to change. The way you move around the building could change. The way you approach practice could change. The way you approach preparation could change. The focus that you have on game day can get different. And also, too, you start to feel like it could just happen no matter when and where you walk into a stadium. And so now if you're the Miami Dolphins, who it felt like you were on your way to being the greatest show on turf, you were on your way to hoisting the sticky Lombardi. Now you got to dig back in because the Buffalo Bills have let us know again that the championship or the division championship goes through Western New York, and that's the Buffalo.
As the song says. Well, it's rough. Of course, we have higher expectations coming to the season. The Dolphins now played the next couple of weeks the Giants and the Carolina Panthers before traveling to Philadelphia. They have a chance to regroup. They have a chance to address what was wrong. Fangio we'll talk about the defensive problem more later during the Fact or Fiction segment, but they have a chance to, probably do something with personnel to evaluate some things. And, well, the it's still the Dolphins have 3-1 after 4 games, 3 games on the road. There were not many even expecting the Dolphins to be 2-2. That's a reality. There were a lot of people who didn't believe this team could do some of the things they've done. Uh, you know, that's a problem is speaking to myself, trying to feel myself feel better about the loss, but I still believe the Dolphins are in great position going forward. So, what's next for the Dolphins in your opinion, Steve?
Well, so in terms of being next for the Dolphins, or I mean, I personally I think that the defense, we've got a problem.
Mhm.
When we announced Vic Fangio coming to Miami, he shows up in his press conference and people ask him and he talks that, he's been cooking up some schemes in his off time and everything. And then he shows up and you look at the defensive rankings and you really realize that what he's cooking up is a can of Chef Boyardee beef ravioli. It's right now it's been extremely disappointing with what we've covered in previous calls here is that he has a lot of good pieces. Are we missing people? Yes. Every team right now at this point is missing some key pieces to their defense, but we can't say that we need to drop that much of a ranking on our defensive side of the ball
Mhm.
because we have a couple people missing. I believe he's a defensive genius. I think that he will move some things around. He's going to be making some tough decisions, and hopefully he starts, hitting these very talented adults that he's in charge of on that team and has them stepping up to play better.
What are your thoughts about what's next for the Dolphins overall? The Dolphins are at the crossroads after a 3-1 start, after the tough loss, and going forward, offense and defense, Matt.
I think that there still needs to be some time to get the defense to put it all together. They played 3 games on the road um, against some really good quarterbacks. But I want to highlight one thing that is really important. Um the Dolphins are 3-1. The record, you are who your record says you are. Um, and I kind of believe that. There are times you can always add in injuries, missed hold here, bad call there, missed a wide open receiver over there, pass when you should have run. There's all these variables. But one thing that's not a variable is the Dolphins lost to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills lost to the New York Jets. So you take that into, take it with a grain of salt. Let them, as Steve said, let them cook. Let the defense get its act together. You added Brandon Jones, who's a very important piece to that defense last year. It's almost criminal that we lost him to a knee injury when he was really starting to cook. You got guys that are still trying to find their way. I'm at a loss for why Xavier wasn't covering Diggs the whole game. I don't know. Xavier doesn't know, but it's early. They're 3-1. Are they at the crossroads? They just bumped up to an 11-point favorite against the Giants. Ask me that question next week on this show if they come out of that with a loss. Then I'll be able to tell you, yeah, they're at a crossroads. Today, they've got some fine tuning to do, in my opinion, but I don't think it's a make or break part of the season yet.
What are your thoughts, Eddie? After basically at the crossroads after a 3-1 start, uh, this thing, I don't expect this team to go backwards. I expect the team going forward. What do you think?
Definitely. A lot of people had him losing the first 2 games on the road. They had him 0-2. A lot of people predicted
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yep.
They said if they could get out of it 2-2, it would be a win. So I really can't complain about 3-1. Matt brought up a great point about Buffalo lost to the Jets without Aaron Rodgers. They lost to Zach Wilson. So everybody's going to play a bad game. I'll give them that. If their defense, even if they win this week, if their defense does not absolutely destroy that giant offense, there's problems. There's I know Fangio. I know a couple things on his defense. I know he likes to leave his corners in the same spots, which is fine when you have Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. But Kohu, who I love, he's more of a slot guy. If I believe they like using him in a slot, I mean, I hope Needham can come back soon because he's a great corner too. I just I hope we get better play, especially out of the linebackers. I believe that's the weakest part of this team right now is linebackers. If you would have asked me that at the beginning of the year, I would have said O-line, but it's linebackers. Definitely. And I'm not sure. I know he doesn't blitz and Fangio a lot. And some people, I think like Orlando Alzagari, said they should bring back Josh Boyer. I'm like, you were the same guys complaining about they blitzed when it was 3rd and 18. I mean, come on.
Third and Boyer.
Yeah. Yep. You can't have it both ways. I mean,
yeah.
I think the very first show before the season started or right after the Charger game, we said, I think all of us, it's going to take a few weeks for the defense. So to learn everything, it's a complex defense to learn. I've heard that from the players, Baker. But after the next couple of weeks, they need to get healthy, not healthy and physically, but healthy mentally, do their assignments, especially against the next 2 opponents. And I'll be happy with that.
You just mentioned Josh Boyer, and I got an earthquake. We had a 4-point some earthquake just right now. No kidding.
Really?
Yeah, honest.
Wow.
Like, okay, nice.
Sorry.
Please let's not mention Josh Boyer ever again. Need that to be go.
Lesson learned.
All that crazy stuff. Steve, any more thoughts on that?
I mean, really, and I'm personally, I started this down the road, focusing on the defense. It's a team sport. Special teams, they really need to start playing better. I don't know what. Seriously, the whole first 3 games, did we run the ball one time out of the end zone? I'll have to go back and look, but I don't think we did on kickoffs. We took touchbacks. Yeah. What changed? Why did we change our script to all of a sudden we're running balls out of the end zone? I don't like it. You know what? Just be a disciplined team, and it just starts with little stuff like that. Yeah. I think both the entire coaching staff it was a good reality check for them. I don't know who Tua was talking about. Personally, I'm not a fan of the passive-aggressive, borderline on aggressive, direct type comments like that certain people in the organization need a reality check, but he's not wrong. And we talked last week, 3-0 starts. It's an ominous thing for the Dolphins because over the past 30 years or so, we've had very, very poor performances in following up those 3-0 starts. Call it the benefit of playing the next 2 games against lesser tier opponents than what we've played in the first 4 games, in my opinion. The Broncos aren't that good, but I don't expect them to be any better than them. I expect us to be able to win the next 2, and that's going to set the stage for us to head up into Philly. And I think this is a very, very good, well-timed reality check for our team, and I expect that we are going to pick up and learn a lot from this.
Absolutely.
Agreed.
Yeah, please. Matt, you want to say something?
I think I just want to piggyback on what Steve just said. You know, the season's made up of these blocks. Used to be perfect at 16, and now you've got that odd number in there. But now we're into the second quarter of the season at 3-1. So forget 3-1. Now you're 0-0. You're 0-0, and the Giants are up. Get through the Giants. Get through the Panthers, which I'm not suggesting that we will. I'm simply that's the goal, right? And then you've got the Phillies. I'm thinking, I'm keeping my eye on the Marlins game over here too. Go Marlins!
Go Braves!
So you want to take these one at a time, and if they can do that, like Steve said, it's a process. You know, fight in advance, get better in advance. As Eddie said, the complexity of this defense. God bless those guys, man. They've actually come out and said this thing is the real deal. Give them a chance. Don't forget, as you get through these quarters, somebody's coming back. Somebody that's going to be a tremendous, tremendous asset to that defense. Maybe sooner, There's some thoughts that maybe it'll be sooner, but I can't wait to see what that defense looks like when it's got all of its pieces
Mhm.
operating as
Here,
one.
here.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I thought about the Dolphins at the crossroads.
Well, that's about it. I know we said it felt like having Marino back there last week again, always never out of a game. Unfortunately, that was like Marino against the Bills in his last few years. We were always getting killed by Jim Kelly and them. But other than that, I think they'll be all right. It's just and a little bit of overreaction on my part the other day. It's going to happen when you get beat like that. It's just
We care.
special.
That's why we're here.
Especially, yeah, exactly. If we didn't, we wouldn't want to be doing this. It's just losing to that team and them
Well,
fans.
I, I've been honest always. Being honest about okay. Mike McDaniel made the believer out of me. I always have some reservation about Coach McDaniel. He's made a believer out of me. But after this game, some of the scenes just resurface. He has to so when the wheels fall off. Other than the Ravens game where the wheels fall off and he found a way to make them come back. He needs to find a way to make that team steadier. The wheels fall off, they get too anxious on defense and offense, and everything goes stumbling. And next huge opportunity to prove that he's under the control is going to be the Philadelphia game. That crowd again is going to be a rowdy crowd. It's a tough environment. There is a great offensive line, defensive line, so it's going to be rough. The other thing is that the media, some pundits in the media were saying that the Dolphins were probably peaking way too early. That they were peaking too early, but after by late season, they're going to be like they're going to deflate it. Maybe the best thing that happened, and I know the hindsight right now, but if they're being humble, they find a way to see we're not as good as we are. We need to play with an edge. They be sometimes I blame them being too nice. They're too much of a finesse team. They had to play angry like the Bills did. The Bills probably give the Dolphins the blueprint of how you have to react when your back's against the wall against a good team. They had an opportunity to go in for look at themselves and say, we're not going to allow this to happen again. If they find themselves another game like this with the wheels falling off, running behind with no chance and panicking, we have to choose product going forward. But I expect this team to find a way. I expect find you to get better. We're going to talk about a bit more about the defense very soon on the next episode of Fiction. But hopefully the Dolphins find a way to make things better. So next, we're gonna play some. Well, that's the first. That's the first one. We're gonna keep talking about the defense. About the. It's a factor of fiction that the Dolphins did right now. It's a huge problem that's probably gonna set this team, hold this team back going forward. Who wants to go first? Matt, Steve, Eddie, whichever want to pick it up.
I want to hear Steve. Go, Steve, go.
You want to hear me?
Yes.
Well, I screwed up the segments here, so I'll go first and I'll finish what I said before. It is a problem right now because we need to stop waiting for Jalen Ramsey to show up and improve our defense. We've got enough pieces. The players, especially the veterans that we have on this team, need to start stepping up. It's a problem right now based on a small sample size of what we've seen in a couple of the games this year. They've shown the ability to stop teams and take over a little bit of it, but they need to consistently show up in the big games. Temporary, it's a problem right now. Fact.
What do you think, Matt? Fact or fiction? The Dolphins have a huge problem right now on defense. Huge problem.
I think it's fiction because you use the word huge in the question.
Semantics, damn it.
Yeah, it's semantics. And I'm a staunch believer in they're trying to find their way with so many new things. The most important new thing is the guy running the show, right? He comes with a pedigree and he comes with a history. He's a known commodity. Those guys, if they're buying in, it'll eventually not be a problem. If they're not buying in, then it's a whole different issue. And yes, the D is a huge problem at that point. The question of the day today, fact or fiction, is it a huge problem? No. Is it concerning? Absolutely. What they did against Denver, there were fumbles, a couple forced fumbles, intercept, right? That's what we expect to see from a Fangio defense. Again, they played the Bills last weekend, so I don't think it's a huge problem yet.
Eddie, how are you? Do you believe, fact or fiction, that the Dolphins D is a huge problem right now?
Right now, probably fact. Down the road, hopefully fiction. Um, if they're going to be a bend don't break defense, you're going to have to try to get the offense, the other team's offense, of course, to turn the ball over. You have to you have to rely on turnovers. I mean, I'll trade stopping the teams for a field goal if we're going to score a touchdown almost every time we have the ball. So that even that wouldn't be a problem. It's just the easy plays they gave up to a couple in the Chargers game, and this week against the Bills, it's a little concerning. I don't know what's going on with Wilkins. He hasn't shown up this year so far. I don't know if it's, again, I'm not I'm not a coach.
He should have taken that contract. Just saying.
He should. He's definitely not a $20 million a year player.
24.
That's the way he's playing.
24.
That's my thought. I don't know if it's the scheme or what, but like I said, the 3 first-round picks. Of course, Phillips missed 2 games. That's another problem. Mm-hmm. But Chubb, I feel like Chubb's stealing money right now from the Dolphins. He's really not doing anything. Nothing spectacular like you expect when you give up a first-round pick. But it's fiction going forward. This is what I want to believe.
Well, I'm gonna go with fact. Actually, I'm gonna go with fact. To me, it's a huge problem because of a lot of things. Fangio doesn't want to change his ways, and he doesn't, change the scheme. He blitzes more. He found a way to hide Baker under a rug and find a way for that defensive line to play better. Sealer and Wilkins are not playing up to par. And Chubb is, he's a $22 million man, and he's nowhere to be found. And by the time Jelly Ramsey comes back, probably going to be a lot more better. Nick Needham is going to come back, but that's a very, very rough injury. Not a lot of players come back in the first year after a torn Achilles. And he's a player is running backwards on an Achilles. That's not great for his prognosis. To come back and be fastly the quickly the player he used to be. So for me, as of right now, and probably going forward for the next couple of weeks until Ramsey goes back, it is a huge problem. So next, talking about that, but basically the same topic. Should the Dolphins make a trade for defense? We talk a lot about making a trade for running backs, for offensive line. When the word comes on trade, we're always thinking about offense. But as of right now, we know Chris Greer probably looking for a way to make this team better. Linebacker is a huge problem right now, if you ask me. Safety, if Ellis comes back, should be fine. Corner, they're not going to find a corner in the trade market. A lot of good corners got to go down, so the prices for good corners probably astronomical. So, fact or fiction, Matt, do you believe that the Dolphins should make a trade on defense?
I think that's fiction. I don't know who's out there that's going to let's look at this from a point of view of not just this season. There are significant cap issues. I personally think that the salary cap is a myth. They can do all kinds of wonders to make numbers work. Mm-hmm. Okay. But let's look at this logically. Whoever you're trading an asset for, and those assets really come in the way of draft picks, which are almost priceless. you got to get somebody who's going to be here at minimum next year as well, which means there's going to have to be salary involved there. We already have salary issues. Yes, I said the salary cap is a myth, but why add to that? Um, it would have to be one of those situations where you would just be negligent if you didn't pull the trigger on a trade. Somebody's giving up. I can't even begin to think of somebody for a seventh rounder. In that case, by all means,
Mhm.
but beyond that, I think that's fiction.
How about you, Eddie? Do you believe that fact or fiction the Dolphins should make a trade for defense?
I believe they should, but I don't know if they can. They need I believe they need. I expected a lot more. Excuse me, from David Long. He's really. I would rather have Landon Roberts back there. At least he was a thumper, and he was. I don't know. I'd like to see him make a trade for a linebacker, but it would not be. We've given up enough draft picks the past few years. It'd be nice to see McDaniel have some draft picks to get some of the players he wants in there, especially some young guys, because you can improve your team with young guys. I'm not sure what's going on, why in that game last week, why they did not use Cam Smith more, especially when he didn't play a single snap on defense. Why is that? I mean, that's a draft pick. Is that a Fangio thing? Is it not? I'm not sure. Tyndall at this point, I guess he's lost still from his third year. So if somebody wants to take Tyndall for, I don't know, Roquan Smith, that's fine.
How
That's a
you,
fair
Steve?
trade.
How are you, Steve? Fact or fiction? Do you Dolphins make a trade for defense?
Everybody brings up some valid points here. My initial gut reaction is yes, we need a linebacker, need to find one, and I've seen out on the interwebs of social media where people are talking about, damn, it would have been great to grab Roquan Smith instead of Bradley Chubb. You know, what did we give up for Chubb? A first round pick and a huge contract. The Roquan Smith was to be had for a second rounder, a fifth rounder, and a linebacker.
Same money basically, but yeah, second
Same
rounder.
money, but we still would have had a first round pick.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, draft picks are nearly priceless. First round draft picks are priceless. And if you're going to give one of them up, you better get some ROI on it, especially if it's coming to the tune of a veteran player on a monster contract. So that's hindsight. We can't go back in time to change that decision, but it would have been great to have him. If there's a linebacker to be had for a late round pick, absolutely. We need it. It would be great to see Channing Tindall step up. I've been wondering where he is. See him on special teams here and there, nothing else. Maybe he'll show up, but I would like for them to. But again, everybody's got valid points. Draft picks are extremely valuable.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, in my opinion, it's a fact, but I don't know what we could do to find a trade partner that doesn't see the Dolphins are desperate for a linebacker and ask the world for a third round pick, a third and a fifth for a linebacker that you can, probably not go get next year in the open market and as a free agent. Well, the Dolphins right now are missing some players. Cam Smith should be playing more. Hopefully, in the next couple of weeks, they're getting a player added, so that's good. Nick Needham is coming back. They're getting a player added. And Jalen Ramsey is coming back. They're adding a player. Jalen Phillips hopefully will find a ways to stay healthy, and that will be a great addition. So the Dolphins are probably getting help on the defensive front on players. So a trade they should make, find a trade partner that was willing to do it. They should, but it would be rough to find a trade partner to see that Dolphins are desperate and ask a lot for it. So next is the big one: fact or fiction? Are the Dolphins overrated?
Eddie, give me
This
something good, man.
this is the
If
big one. This is the one
if
where that's the main event of the evening.
if
Fact
the
or
Dolphins
fiction?
if the Dolphins are overrated, everybody in the league is overrated then. Because look at the Chiefs. I mean, they struggled with a 17-point lead and almost gave it up to Taylor Swift and the and the Jets. Zach Wilson at quarterback. The Commanders, why they didn't go for two? when they tied that, or instead of kicking the field goal, look at the Eagles. They did not play well. The Commanders could have won that game. Nobody has looked amazing. Maybe the 49ers have looked. They had some missteps in the game against Arizona, who's playing better than I thought they'd be. But like I say, if the Dolphins are overrated, every team is overrated.
How about you, Matt? Do you believe that the Dolphins are overrated?
I don't think I can top what Eddie just said. It's such a perfect statement. If the Dolphins are overrated, everybody is overrated. And I'm going to illustrate that by explaining Tua threw for 466 in week one, and they started talking about the MVP in week one. They hadn't even gotten to Monday Night Football, and they're already is Tua the MVP.
Mm-hmm.
Can we play the games? Can we play the games? Eddie, that's such a fantastic statement. If they're overrated, you're only as good as your last game. Were the Jets overrated in week one? Who did they beat?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think that
they were the off-season champions, so they were overrated. But
right. So, a week ago, a week ago today, we were, oh my God, 70 points. This is the greatest show on surf. Are they overrated? Yeah, they're overrated. And so is everybody ahead of them. And I still think they're going to go 19-1.
how are you, Steve?
Fiction, straight up fiction. It's seriously legit team. Weeks 1 through 3, we proved it. Bottom line is we went up into Orchard Park and faced a juggernaut. And it's not just the team on the field, it's the 12th man that really dominated to the point where we had no communication. We couldn't do anything. Eddie and Matt, head on the nail, or nail on the head. There you go. I'm getting it backwards here. You're only as good as your last win, your last game that you've played. And if that's the litmus test, and frankly, right now, the 49ers, at the end result of their game, are in a class all by themselves. But there's a lot of games left to be played, and if I don't think they're overrated. Are they going to be in the top 5 this week? We'll find out here in a few minutes.
It's a fiction. That will be the biggest irony ever that Sunway's overrating the Dolphins. After years and years and years of people doubting people doubting the Dolphins, second guessing the front office, this offensive line sucks, and now saying the Dolphins are overrated, that's a huge irony. There's no way the Dolphins are overrated. Of course, we believe are high for a week after 70 points, yes, but that's completely different thing than being overrated. The Dolphins
Totally different.
it's a totally different thing. The Dolphins are not overrated. The Dolphins, again, if you're going backwards to what I said before, the Dolphins right now, probably the spanking is going to make them even better. Hopefully that's what happens. That the Dolphins look themselves in the mirror and they go forward and we have a great season. And that last game of the season, Eddie, you're going to be there. I think you're going to that game. I'll be there. We're going to get a win. This is going to be one right with the world. So we're going to go minutes a second here. And no, it's a technical difficulty. So I'm going to be, while I feel something here, you guys can start talking about the Giants game. Let me give me a second here where you can start talking about the Giants game. And if you can please start while I fix something here. So let's talk about something about the next week games against the Giants.
I hope Connor Williams is back. He's a big part of, I think, their offensive game plan. I believe he's ranked top 5 in blocking for the run game. He does not let people up the middle. He's very good at double teams and getting to the second level. That's very important. I'm looking forward to the defense responding. I know the Giants will have a little. They'll have a little added. Well, they do not want to look like they did last night or Monday night. So I think they'll have a different game plan because Daboll's a pretty good coach. But I'm looking forward to the adjustments this week by the defense, and I'm hoping Williams plays. Like I said, I'm not as concerned as Armstead. Lamb has shown he's a good left tackle, especially if he knows he's starting that week, and he knows this week probably for the next few weeks that he's starting. So that's not a problem. It's our center. Fix that. Get back to the run game. Pound it down their throats. There's definitely plays to be had against that defense. They have a very good defensive line, but I believe they can fix some of the wrongs from last week and move forward. It's a good test. No, should never take any team lightly, but they definitely could get healthy out there on the field.
The Giants have been an historical team that always play tough to the Dolphins. Either in Miami or either at New Jersey, they're always a tough out. They're going to be ready. They haven't not scored a point on the first half of any game. I seen today there were people making jokes that fans, you better be ready. They don't want the Dolphins to be the first team that's the Giants score first points, a touchdown during the first half. So how about you, Matt? What are your thoughts about the next game against the Giants, homecoming for the Dolphins in Miami?
Dolphins by 30. Dolphins by 30. They're not going to lose to a team that's got a Duke quarterback. Okay. In all seriousness, the Giants are one of those teams that I have difficulty having any animosity towards. And it's probably because they have 2 Super Bowl wins against the Patriots. You know, I've rooted for the Giants on a couple of occasions when it was life or death. So
well, I think we were all Giants fans
yeah,
that day. So.
David Tyree.
Yeah,
it's very difficult to have any kind of acrimony towards that club. It's very easy for me personally because of who their quarterback is, and I hope they break him in half. I am being somewhat facetious when I say the Dolphins by 30, but I do think the Dolphins put up at least 30 points on Sunday. I think that they get a lead. They put the Giants in a position where they have to pass, and it allows the Dolphins to pin their ears back and just rush like madmen. If they can do that, it's a W.
definitely. Well, Steve, what do you think? What are your thoughts about the homecoming game for the Dolphins against the Giants this Sunday?
Well, I haven't had a chance to watch the Giants game. I saw some highlights, listened a lot on SXM sports radios on my way to and from work. Got enough of an idea to understand that without Saquon Barkley, this team is nothing. You know, they all wherever he went to college aside, they paid their quarterback Daniel Jones to be a ball handler for an all-pro running back who is not on the field right now. And without him, they're nothing on offense.
Mm-hmm.
I do expect that Daboll is going to bring out. He's gonna pull out all the stops.
Mm-hmm.
He can't afford to continue to let that team fall, especially in games like they just were in on Monday night. So I expect them to pull out all the stops. I'd expect some trick plays, trying to do something to throw us off, take advantage of some stuff that the Bills threw at us. But let's be real. Daboll from this morning, Tuesday morning at midnight, was watching Dolphins tape, but we really did surprise. We didn't put anything on the field for them to really scheme against. So I expect us to show up and show out and prove that last year is not an indication that the sky is falling.
Most definitely. Like I said before, the Giants have always been a tough out, and it's hard for me to believe they're as bad as they seem to be. They were a playoff team last year. Brian Dable coach of the year last season, so it was be expected that they will turn this whole season around. Probably not as of so many wins as they should expect before, but they should play better. Eddie, I called you before because of technical difficulties, so you give me a clip of your last thoughts about the Giants. Anything else you want to add?
As long as they handle their business, get a lead, like I believe Matt said, try to pin their ears back. Hopefully, get a healthy Phillips back this week. Get some sacks, get some pressures on Jones. I know he can run some. That gives us trouble every time we play any quarterback that can run, even if he is from Duke. I mean, it's not like he's from North Carolina like Trubisky, but but other than that, just pin your ears back, hit that guy,
Ouch!
turn him over,
The controversial Eddie Chaput.
I didn't say it before. I didn't say it today. So there you go.
Gosh.
You just got your nickname back.
I love it.
But other than that, just put something on tape that's good. Get your team feeling good again. I think they're going to be fine. I just let it roll after that.
Well, last week I asked you guys to give me a number prediction. I'm not going to do this week unless you want to, but I'm going to give my prediction for the score. I think Dolphins 31, Giants probably score a little bit more this weekend, 17. They have to. Their backs against the wall. They're not as bad as they seem the last couple of weeks. So I expect Dolphins to win 31-17. So next, we're going to go to the big finish and the top 5 power rankings. Well, after last week debacle in Buffalo, probably there will be some changes in the top 5 power rankings. This week, I'm going to start. I'm going to put the Dolphins at number 5. After that, when you lose by 28 points, that's rough. There's no way I can put it ahead of some of the teams that are in front of them. But I'm going to put the Chiefs at number 4, Philadelphia Eagles at 3, the Buffalo Bills at number 2, and still number 1, the San Francisco 49ers. How about you, Matt? What are your top 5 power rankings?
Almost identical, Sam. I got the Dolphins at number 5. Let's give them a little bit of a hill to climb, okay? They're not as bad as they played last week. They're really not as good as they played the week before. So I'm going to put them solidly at number 5. I'm going to slide the Eagles in there at number 4, right behind the Chiefs, and round it off with the Bills, who still lost to the New York Jets in week 1. They can't be number 1.
Yeah, that's why they put it number 1.
Yeah,
exactly.
the Jets are the worst organization in the history of American sports, period. And the Buffalo Bills went out there and lost to them. So please hold the plaudits for the Buffalo Bills being some sort of juggernaut. You lost to Zach Wilson. Anyways, I think the 49ers are a really, really good football club. They are one of those teams that really gives me concern in the big picture. So rounded off with the 49ers at number 1.
How about you, Eddie? What are your top 5 power rankings for this week?
Pretty much the same. Miami 5. 4, after that performance against the Jets, I'll put Kansas City. I'm going to drop them 1. Philadelphia. No, I'm going to go Buffalo 3. Philadelphia 2. San Francisco number 1.
How about you, Steve? What are your top 5 power rankings for week?
Top 5 power rankings. So call it knee-jerk reaction, call it what you want, but they need to earn their spot back in my top 5. The Dolphins are not in it. So we've got Kansas City in at number 5. Poor performance against the Jets, but can't count them out. I think that they belong there. Dallas in at 4, Buffalo at 3, the Eagles at 2, and the 49ers are right now in a class all by themselves at number 1. So
yeah, do the Eagles play the 49ers play this year? I don't know if they do.
I don't know. Well, I know Dallas plays them this weekend, correct? So
49ers, yes.
Yep,
Oh, wow.
Dallas and San Fran this weekend.
Wow.
So we'll
That's
see how that.
TV.
That's
Yes.
that's mostly TV. That should be a top matches.
I'm very curious to see. Sorry, Sam.
No, please go.
I'm very curious to see how, after that performance, they were all hyped up and played hard as they could to beat the Dolphins. The Bills have to travel to London, and the Jaguars have been sitting over there for the week. They haven't had to come back and go back home. And I'd like to see if it's going to be a test for Buffalo. I know the Jaguars aren't the best team in the world, but I believe they beat Buffalo. Was it last year in Jacksonville or the year they were bad? I'm not sure. But it's going to be a test that might knock Buffalo right back out of my top 5 next week.
That would suck.
It's just a little spoiler prediction. I think the Jaguars are going to beat Buffalo.
No, that's a good prediction. That should be a good matchup. Hopefully, the Jaguars can make a favor to the Dolphins and put the Bills back in their place. So, any last thoughts? Any you want to add anything else?
I don't have it. I think we're good. We did a great job this week, guys.
Well, great job, guys. Well, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. And always remember, thank you guys. Remember, when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl.
Fins up, guys.
Fins up.
Fins up.
Good job, guys.
Dolphins, the greatest football team. We did it. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, because we're the Miami Dolphins. Sing it, Lucy. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1. We're the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins #1.
Miami has the Dolphins, the greatest football team. We take the ball from goal to goal like no one's ever seen. We're in the air, we're on the ground, we're always in control. And when you say Miami, you're talking Super Bowl, 'cause we're the Miami Dolphins. Miami